Good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to episode 189 of the Prancing Pony podcast, where hideous arms grasp at us from every side.
Ooh, you might want to lay off the pizza late at night if that's what you're dreaming about.
Fair.
But folks, go ahead and pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Sean Marchese, the real-life Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the man of the West, who would blow his great horn till the woods rang, if only he had one, Alan Sisto.
Well, fair enough. I mean, after all, I just have a mediocre horn, as it turns out.
I don't need to know, but thank you.
There aren't any woods around here anyway, so it doesn't matter.
All right.
Folks, today we are going to be talking about the first part of the Urak-Hai, the third chapter in Book 3 of The Lord of the Rings. This is where we join Merry and Pippin as they are hauled across Rohan by those charming fellows, the Orcs of Isengard.
They're so nice. They're
Aren't they?
just such kind guys.
Yeah.
Gentle fellows, you know?
Like Arthur Dent said, I wish I had a daughter so I could forbid her from marrying one.
Yeah, exactly. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. Here at the Prancing Pony podcast, we are working our way through J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium, a few pages at a time.
We study the details, make connections to other writings, talk about our favorite themes.
And have a whole lot of fun along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're glad you've joined us.
We are, and we hope you'll be glad you've joined as well. But before we get to tonight's chapter discussion, it's time for an intro segment we haven't seen in a while, a Tolkien Fun Fact.
It has been a while since we've done this one, hasn't it? I don't even remember
I know.
the last Tolkien Fun Fact we had on the show. But we had a good reason for this one, folks. After the the horse-based fun of the last chapter, we wanted to take a look at Professor Tolkien's history with horses. Now, of course, we've both read John Garth's Tolkien and the Great War, and we remembered, very good. One would almost think that you had real horses right there with you.
Or real coconuts.
Real coconuts. So we remembered from reading Tolkien in the Great War by the great John Garth, we remembered that Tolkien had once been a part of King Edward's horse, and we thought that sounded like a fun diversion.
Indeed we did. So let's start with that passage from Tolkien in the Great War. Tolkien was embarking on life at Exeter College, Oxford, where, in step with his generation, he pursued military training. As soon as he arrived, he enrolled in King Edward's horse. This cavalry regiment had been conceived during the Boer War as the king's colonials, and it recruited men from overseas resident in the British Isles. As such, it enjoyed a dubious status compared to other British military units, and was the only one administered from Whitehall. But royal patronage had helped it grow. It had been renamed after the new king, Edward VII. The large numbers of overseas students at Oxford and Cambridge made the university towns prime targets for recruiting drives, and by 1911, the regiment has a strong following in Exeter College. Tolkien joined it, presumably, because of his South African birth. Most new undergraduates enlisted in the university OTC, but those with a colonial background were expected instead to join King Edward's horse. Yeah, we'll get to that. But just to clarify, Garth mentioned Tolkien's South African birth, but to be clear, when he was born in Bloemfontein, it was part of the Orange Free State. But that became South Africa in 1910, so that's why Garth references it this way, because it is after.
Right. Yeah, and that does make sense. But I do want to go back to that little, what do we call that? The recruiting criteria, those expectations about who joins King Edward's horse. A colonial background, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's got a sting.
Does that mean American?
Oh, well, yeah. I suppose that's true.
Don't they call us colonials?
Quite.
No, I of course it doesn't. I imagine that Tolkien had to have chafed at that a little bit, given how very English he felt. I mean, his whole idea, once upon a time, was to create a mythology for England, not a mythology for the Orange Free State or
certainly
for the British Commonwealth across the world. That had to be fun for him. But anyway, Garth goes on to say that within the regiment, the Oxbridge Squadron's members were considered a fractious and independent-minded lot, but they had good mounts borrowed from local hunts. Tolkien had a strong affinity with horses, which he loved, and became a de facto breaker-in. No sooner had he broken one horse in, but it was taken away. Another would then be given to him, and he had to start the process again. His membership of the regiment was short-lived, however. Tolkien was discharged from the regiment at his own request the following January. Now that would have been January 1913.
Right.
And that's all Garth had to say about King Edward's horse, but we knew that there had to be more out there to be found.
Mm-hmm.
So we asked our research assistant, Marilyn R. Pukila, to do some digging, and man, she found something pretty fun here.
Mm-hmm.
In Amonhen number 13, so that is the Bulletin of the Tolkien Society dating to October 1974, there's a piece with notes that came from a dinner where a few members of the Tolkien Society were entertained at Priscilla Tolkien's house for dinner.
Oh, my goodness.
Doesn't that sound fun?
Yeah.
Where she and Michael Tolkien provided them with some stories.
Wow.
Now, how fun does that sound? That would have been a cool place to be.
That would have been a great little gathering, no doubt.
I never get invited to those dinner parties.
No.
But Alan, you've got something from this Orcmanbit 74 report that you're going to read for us, right?
I am indeed. Now, before we get to the meat of the quote, I found this bit fascinating from the notes. During the investiture for the professor's CBE, Tolkien told Prince Philip that he would probably enjoy The Lord of the Rings, as there was a rather swift horse in it. I'm just sitting there imagining Tolkien chatting with Prince Philip about Shadowfax. That is just awesome.
Now, I'm sorry, the word nerd in me has to ask, did
Yes.
Prince Philip actually love horses, or did Tolkien just say that because Philip is Greek for horse lover?
Wow, well played, word nerd. I'd forgotten about that, but of course it is.
I wonder.
I don't know.
I don't know enough about Prince Philip to know.
I don't know much, because what my knowledge comes from like The Crown and stuff like that. So I don't know
Right.
how accurate it is.
I wonder. Somebody out there might know for us, or maybe we can look it up for a P5 or something. I don't know. Just as I'm thinking about this, like, did the man actually love horses, or was Tolkien just being, was it like a philologist joke? You know, which would not surprise
Your name
me
is
for
Philip,
Tolkien.
so of course you love horses. So
Right.
you should like this because there's a horse in it.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
So,
no. That is just
I don't know.
brilliant.
We'll have to look into that one a little bit. But anyway,
I think so. Yeah.
I'll let you get back to it.
All right. So this note, which was the source for much of Garth's passage earlier, goes on and says, "It was First War recollections that formed the basis for the Black Riders. During the early part of the war, the Germans used cavalry. In the fogs and smokes of Flanders, while JRRT was on guard duty, he heard whispers which carried unnatural distances and saw shadows and unreal movement. The horses appeared natural, while their riders did not." Tolkien was in the cavalry himself, the King Edward horse. He was keen on horses and had a very great affinity for them. He turned out to be an unofficial breaker-in, since it seemed that as soon as he had satisfactorily broken a new horse, it was taken from him and he was given another. As the war developed, he was switched to the infantry, which he disliked particularly, as he abhorred loud noises. Now, the note here, that was from 1974, suggests that Tolkien was transferred to the infantry, but Garth's research does indicate that move was at his own request.
Now, Marilyn also found an article in Tolkien Studies Volume 8 by Janet Brennan Croft, The Hen That Laid the Eggs, Tolkien and the Officers' Training Corps. In it, Croft says, Tolkien apparently found the King Edward School OTC congenial enough in those pre-war days that he joined King Edward's horse a few months later, shortly after starting his first year at Oxford in November 1911. The KEH, that's the King Edward's horse, was a fairly new army regiment for colonial volunteers, such as Tolkien, who was born in the Orange Free State, with an emphasis on cavalry training. But Tolkien resigned after little more than a year in February 1913, at about the time he was determining to devote himself anew to his studies for Edith's sake.
There you go. Well, there's one more nugget, this time from the Raymond Edwards biography, Tolkien. This sheds a bit more light on King Edward's horse and on Tolkien's reasons for departure. His resignation was dated 28 February, when he was in the midst of honor moderations, although this may be purely an administrative quirk. It seems most likely that Tolkien resigned because he could not afford the time and perhaps also the expense of membership. It is also coincidentally the case that in 1913, King Edward's horse was transferred from the volunteer forces to the Special Reserve, a distinct social downgrading. The Special Reserve was the successor of the old militia and functioned as home training units for largely working-class men, whereas the volunteers, and especially the mounted yeomanry, were both middle class and expected to function as active service units during wartime. They remained a cavalry regiment, though, and as such saw service in France and Italy. They were disbanded in 1924.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It looks as though Tolkien transferred out of King Edward's horse voluntarily,
Right.
and he may have had any number of reasons for doing so. We just don't know for sure. Maybe he felt as though he just didn't belong with the colonials. Maybe he just couldn't afford the time or the cost of membership.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he just needed to devote more time to his studies. After all, Edith was on the line.
There you go.
Whatever the case, we know that he seemed to have an affinity for horses and a skill in working with them.
Yeah.
So it's really no surprise that horses, whether it's the fine steeds of the Rohirrim or the working ponies of the hobbits, are held in such high esteem in Tolkien's work.
Now you're just making me feel guilty for my cracks about Bill the Pony being a meat shield.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm feeling equally guilty for joking about Gimli eating horses a couple of episodes ago.
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah.
That was pretty awful.
Feet,
Yeah.
we can't ride them as well as eat them or something along those lines. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, probably good that we both feel guilty about those things.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of horses, before we get into the chapter, we have a horse-related amendment to make.
Yeah.
A clarification, if you will.
Yeah. In the last chapter, we wondered whether the Eored of Rohirrim were heavy cavalry or light cavalry.
Mm-hmm. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe I said they were light cavalry, and you convinced me that the existence of the stirrups meant that they might be more like heavy cavalry.
Oh, fine. Bring that up again. Well, yes, that is my recollection of it as well, and it seems that maybe I was a little uninformed.
Wrong.
Okay, sure, fine. That'll work too. But before I go and serve some time in the Chamber of Equine Errors, where the chest freezer is stocked with meat of all kinds, but not horse.
But not that kind.
Let's talk about what makes them light cavalry.
Right.
Our Barlaman, Becca Davis, took the passage in question to her father, Steve, who happens to have a passion for military tactics and history.
He also happens to be a retired United States Marine lieutenant colonel. So Lieutenant Colonel Davis points out several factors that make the Eored light cavalry. First, their speed and maneuverability are classic light cavalry. Look at the way they encircle the three hunters, their spears all pointed inwards as they go around and around, tighter and tighter. That sort of movement would have been difficult, if not flat out impossible, if they were wearing the typical plate armor of heavy cavalry.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
As I learned yesterday, oops, a little bit too late, light cavalry's main advantage is in their speed and their ability to flank and harass the enemy, especially in an ambush situation.
That's correct. I mean, look at the way they surrounded the orcs. They made a few stealthy kills, all before wiping them out eventually. But there's another good reason for considering them to be light cavalry, and it's what they were doing at the time we met them. They were out patrolling and scouting. That is a typical role for light cavalry.
Right. Whereas a typical role for heavy cavalry, I believe, would be to break the enemy line in a battle, not to scout the region for foes that they would be unable to catch because they're weighted down with all that armor.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, for an example of Rohirric heavy cavalry, we only need to look at their charge at the Pelennor Fields, where they smashed through the orc line, in a wedge in this classic heavy cavalry style, just, hacking and slashing their way through that line of pikemen.
Mm-hmm.
So the riders of the mark do seem capable of both, but in this case, they were equipped as light cavalry and fulfilling the role of light cavalry.
So probably the same riders, but just a different equipment set. Is what I'm getting from all
It
that.
sounds like it. Well, and a totally different strategy, and all
Right,
that. It
right. Yeah.
Might even be different horses, depending.
I
on
wondered
the
that
horses
too.
it
Yeah, I
was.
wonder if it would be different horses.
Yeah, you'd have to have horses with different abilities. You might even have larger horses if they have the ability to make that distinction, if they have different breeds.
Yeah, maybe so. But I think you're right. I think all of that in terms of the role that they played and just the maneuverability they showed, I think that all pretty much makes them light cavalry.
Yeah.
I guess there's one other thing we wanted to say about this. We talked about King Edward's horse.
Yeah.
That's a light cavalry unit, wasn't it?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, I think by that time there were no active heavy cavalry units because that role of breaking the enemy line that heavy cavalry had played would eventually be filled by tanks, right?
That's right. So Tolkien's first-hand familiarity with cavalry would have been with light cavalry, wielding, sabers and pistols primarily. So it makes sense that the Rohirrim would also be that. So thank you, Colonel Davis, and thank you for your service as well.
Indeed. Thank you.
Now, Merry and Pippin could use a horse, but all they have is the orcs and their questionable medicinal practices. Let's go ahead and dive into the Urak-Hai.
You mean you're not even going to make a horse, my shire for a horse joke? I guess not.
No, I'll leave that terrible joke to you, sir.
That's what I'm here for.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and have you start off the chapter for us tonight, Sean. Can you do that?
Okay.
All right.
Pippin lay in a dark and troubled dream. It seemed that he could hear his own small voice echoing in black tunnels, calling, "Frodo! Frodo!" But instead of Frodo, hundreds of hideous orc faces grinned at him out of the shadows. Hundreds of hideous arms grasped at him from every side. Where was Merry? He woke. Cold air blew on his face. He was lying on his back. Evening was coming, and the sky above was growing dim. He turned and found that the dream was little worse than the waking. His wrists, legs, and ankles were tied with cords. Beside him, Merry lay, white-faced, with a dirty rag bound across his brows. All about them sat or stood a great company of orcs. Slowly in Pippin's aching head, memory pieced itself together and became separated from dream shadows. Of course, he and Merry had run off into the woods. What had come over them? Why had they dashed off like that, taking no notice of old Strider? They had run a long way, shouting. He could not remember how far or how long. And then suddenly they had crashed right into a group of orcs. They were standing, listening, and they did not appear to see Merry and Pippin until they were almost in their arms. Then they yelled, and dozens of other goblins had sprung out of the trees. Merry and he had drawn their swords, but the orcs did not wish to fight, and had tried only to lay hold of them, even when Merry had cut off several of their arms and hands. Good old Merry.
Good old Merry, just lopping off arms like just an old pro here.
Like a miniature Huron.
Does it blend? He's just chopping off the hands. I can hear him now. Aule in Tuluva.
Exactly. Yeah.
Day will come again. The dark dream. So he's calling out for Frodo, but he's seeing these hideous orc faces being grabbed by all these arms. Just, oh, what a terrible, terrible nightmare.
Yeah.
And yet it ends up being only a little bit better than the real life. Oh, creepy.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's wondering where Merry is. That's the first thing, right? Where was Merry?
Right. And then he kind of starts to become aware of his surroundings. He realizes he's waking up. He's on his back. It's near evening.
Yeah.
There's cold air on his face. And he realizes that his wrists and his legs and ankles are tied.
Yeah. Took him a little while to figure that out.
Not what you want to realize first thing when you wake up.
No.
And he discovers that Merry is beside him with this rag bound across his brow.
Yeah.
We'll see what that's about in a moment.
Yes, we will. So he's surrounded by a great company of orcs. Now, we're going to do the math next episode, but there were over 200 orcs at this point.
That's a couple.
Yeah, that's a few. You're probably not going to be able to put up a fight. A few of them are walking around with no hands or arms.
Right. A few of them might be hobbling around a little bit, but... So then Pippin starts to remember what happened. He has this little flashback moment, which is great. He remembers himself and Merry running off.
Yeah.
But he's trying to remember, like, why did we do that? And I don't know if it's like... I don't know if it's he literally doesn't remember what happened, or if he's just thinking, man, why did we do that? You know, he's kind of having
I know. I'm wondering that same thing. Why didn't pay attention to Aragorn?
What did we do last night?
What were we thinking?
Right.
Waking up like, wow, why am I so hungover? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he remembers, just kind of running off. And again, we saw the chaos at the end of books.
Oh, yeah.
So we can remember the state that they were in at that time, and crashed smack into the orcs.
Yeah.
Merry fighting them off again.
I love that.
Little Aure and Tuluva moment.
Uh-huh.
And good old Merry.
And that's almost a blink and you miss it moment, because you immediately get to Boromir, and that's where I'm going to pick up.
Yeah.
Then Boromir had come leaping through the trees. He had made them fight. He slew many of them, and the rest fled. But they had not gone far on the way back when they were attacked again by 100 orcs at least, some of them very large, and they shot a rain of arrows, always at Boromir. Boromir had blown his great horn till the woods rang, and at first the orcs had been dismayed and had drawn back. But when no answer but the echoes came, they had attacked more fiercely than ever. Pippin did not remember much more. His last memory was of Boromir leaning against a tree, plucking out an arrow. Then darkness fell suddenly. I suppose I was knocked on the head, he said to himself. I wonder if poor Merry is much hurt. What has happened to Boromir? Why didn't the orcs kill us? Where are we and where are we going? We'll just stop right there, because that's really a good pair of questions. Where are we and where are we going? Ask myself that all the time.
Always a good pair of questions when you wake up outside, tied up.
Tied up, yeah. All right.
So after, I love this little transition. I'm almost kind of bummed that we broke up the passages, but I know why we did it that way.
I know.
We saw the orcs did not wish to fight at the end of my passage. And then Boromir just crashes the party. He made them fight. I love that.
Darn right he did.
I'll give you a fight, boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he drives them away.
I love that.
But they return, and in huge numbers, with archers who are shooting
more than 100.
Yeah, more than 100. And archers shooting always at Boromir, because again, they're not trying to kill the hobbits.
No, they should have actually, had they known, Merry and Pippin could have formed a hobbit shield around Boromir, and they wouldn't have been able to shoot at him, but they had no idea.
Right. But now we see why Boromir went down, don't we? They were
Yeah.
concentrating all of their arrows on him.
Yeah, they were. I want to go back, though, a couple of chapters to the departure of Boromir. When Aragorn arrives, he glances at the fallen enemies surrounding Boromir, and we're told then that 20 at least lay there. Now, at first, it's easy to think, well, Hurin killed 70 before he was captured, you know.
And we did think that.
And we did.
And we did say that.
And we did say that, which is why I said that. But that's the point. They were trying to capture Hurin. In this case, they were trying to kill Boromir from the outset. They were not trying to capture him. It's a lot easier to kill somebody than to capture them, especially when it's somebody like Boromir or Hurin, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And even though they were trying to kill him from the get-go, he took down 20 or more, and it took archers, not swordsmen, not getting up close, but getting him from a distance where he couldn't do anything to stop them. It took archers to finally bring him down.
Yeah.
And we know that at least 4 of those 20 were Urak-Hai. So this was quite an accomplishment by Boromir. It really, we start to piece together all that stuff.
Oh, yes, exactly. And if you hadn't realized by now that Boromir really was a valiant warrior, now you're seeing it, you know?
Yeah, you really
No
are.
more making fun of Boromir, no more joking about him being a Sherpa climbing up the mountain or any of that stuff.
Or
All right.
Boromir.
Or Boromir.
Dude.
No, Boromir is a hero. This was
Yes.
an amazing last stand.
Absolutely.
And we're only getting the details of it in pieces, and that's
Yeah.
pretty powerful stuff. You know, it's kind of the power of interlacing.
It
The
is.
idea that Tolkien tells the story from these different points of view at different times, and you only get a little bit of it at a time.
And of course, we'll get more when G2 comes back, right? You know, when he talks a little bit about it and finds out what happened. And I love that because that's when we start to understand the victory that Boromir won.
Yes, exactly.
I cannot wait to tie that all up together.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So Pippin remembers Boromir blowing his horn. He remembers the dismay of the orcs as the great horn rings, and then the renewal of their attack, right? And then his last memory of this is Boromir plucking out an arrow.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah. And everything goes dark.
That's all he remembers. And now here he is.
Right. And of course, his questions, you know, are what anybody's questions would be in these circumstances. You know, what happened to Boromir? You know, he got that arrow out, but did he survive? Did he get away? Why weren't we killed? You know, I don't understand. Why have we been captured? Where are we going? Where are we?
And are we there yet, Dad?
Are we there yet? Can you imagine how impatient the orcs would be with kids asking, "Are we there yet?" So Merry and Pippin, "Are we there yet?
Are we there yet?
Shut
No. Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No.
Here, have some orc jerky."
Right. But yeah, I mean, and he kind of echoes Legolas's comment about he and Merry going with the company.
Yeah.
He makes this observation that he's just a piece of luggage for the orcs.
Oh.
It's not the last time we'll see language like this coming from one of these two.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. And then, of course, you know, he hopes that he'll be claimed, you know, I suppose at the carousel there at baggage pickup at the airport. Except he's concerned that, you know, if he is recovered,
with a tag on him and a bunch of stickers
mission
from all the different places. He's been.
Exactly. He's been to LAX, LHR, you know, CDG, all the good airports. Oh, man. But yeah, he is concerned, of course, that if they did find him, wouldn't that mean the mission as a whole was at risk? I mean, it's amazing that even in his circumstances, his thought goes there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very selfless thought for Pippin, who has, you know, up till now, kind of not really been the deepest one of the hobbits.
No, he's not the most aware.
No, he's not.
No.
He's not. And he has this moment where he's like, oh man, I hope we get rescued. But then he's like, wait, no.
Ooh, I shouldn't wish for that. Yeah.
That's horribly selfish, because if that happens, that means people are coming after me. They're not focusing on the mission, and I don't want that. So
right.
So then he kind of has this moment. I wish I could get free. You know, I'm going to assume that nobody's coming for me.
Right.
Take care of this myself.
Absolutely.
And this is pretty awesome.
Oh, it is. And that's where I'm going to have you pick up.
All right. In which your co-host shreds his vocal cords doing orc.
Good luck, sir. And so it begins.
He struggled a little, quite uselessly. One of the orcs sitting near laughed and said something to a companion in their abominable tongue. "Rest while you can, little fool," he said then to Pippin in the common speech, which he made almost as hideous as his own language. "Rest while you can. We'll find a use for your legs before long. You'll wish you had got none before we get home." "If I had my way, you'd wish you were dead now," said the other. I'd make you squeak, you miserable rat. He stooped over Pippin, bringing his yellow fangs close to his face. He had a black knife with a long, jagged blade in his hand. Lie quiet, or I'll tickle you with this, he hissed. Don't draw attention to yourself, or I may forget my orders. Curse the Isengarders. Uglukuba gronk sha, pushtug saruman glob bubosh sky. He passed into a long, angry speech in his own tongue that slowly died away into muttering and snarling. Terrified, Pippin lay still, though the pain at his wrists and ankles was growing, and the stones beneath him were boring into his back. To take his mind off himself, he listened intently to all that he could hear. There were many voices round about, and though orc speech sounded at all times full of hate and anger, it seemed plain that something like a quarrel had begun, and was getting hotter. To Pippin's surprise, he found that much of the talk was intelligible. Many of the orcs were using ordinary language. Apparently the members of 2 or 3 quite different tribes were present, and they could not understand one another's orc speech. There was an angry debate concerning what they were to do now, which way they were to take, and what should be done with the prisoners.
Indeed. So, let's talk about this. There are some really interesting things to unpack here.
For sure.
So, Pippin struggles and attracts the attention of an orc who tells him to have a nice little rest. Oh, take it easy, man. Just chill.
Relax. We'll send them a Seuss in here in a little bit. Do you want some cucumber water? We've got some for you.
Put your feet up,
Would you prefer some herbal tea? We've got some raspberry zinger.
You rattled that off far too quickly for my comfort level, Sean. How much time are you spending in spas, apparently?
Not enough these days, man. I could use a good
More
spa
than
trip.
I do.
I could use a good spa trip after 2020.
Oh, yeah, that is true. No doubt about that. But, of course, he does get told to rest, but not in a friendly way. You're going to wish you didn't even have your
Not at
legs
all.
left.
Orcs don't do friendly.
No, they do not. I love it. So he's threatening him with, double amputation. But the other orcs is like, forget it. I'd rather just kill you.
I just want to kill you now. Can I just
be good.
Can I just kill him now, please? And this is a swell guy. He's got these yellow fangs.
Oh, yeah.
Black knife with a long, jagged blade.
Mm-hmm.
This wonderful curse in the black speech, which is a lot of fun to say out loud, I have to say.
It is. That's why I gave it to you specifically. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And we will get into what it means in just a second here.
We will. And, of course, Pippin is listening closely while lying there in pain, right? I mean, his wrists and ankles are hurting. I love that he's lying on stones, so that's hurting. And he's just trying to take his mind off the pain. So he's listening, and he notices they're speaking the common speech. They're speaking Westron.
Yeah. Yeah. And he realizes that these are obviously quite different groups.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's picking up on maybe different speech patterns, different accents or something, but he can tell that they're different tribes, or maybe it's just the fact that they're arguing. He can tell that they're different tribes.
Well, or he might even be able to tell visually.
No, that could be too.
Because we will find out there are certainly visual identifiers.
That's true. Yeah, it's a good point. But whatever it is, he's sharp enough to pick up on the fact that these are different tribes, and they must be unable to understand one another's orc speech, which we will talk about.
That's right.
And they're having this debate, I guess you could call it.
Discussion.
We'll see. It's not exactly civil discourse, but
no, this is not.
But they are having this conversation, argument, whatever, altercation about which way to go and what to do with Merry and Pippin.
Yes, they are. But before we continue, and we will continue, we really need to do a sidebar on this. Anytime we get an example of language like this, not only do we get the curse in Orcish, but then we get this, they're talking in common speech because they can't understand each other. We've got to do a full-blown sidebar. So
of course,
let's take a look at orcs and the black speech. And I'm going to start by reading a little bit from Appendix F. The orcs were first bred by the dark power of the north in the elder days. It is said that they had no language of their own, but took what they could of other tongues and perverted it to their own liking. Yet they made only brutal jargons, scarcely sufficient even for their own needs, unless it were for curses and abuse. And these creatures, being filled with malice, hating even their own kind, quickly developed as many barbarous dialects as there were groups or settlements of their race, so that their Orcish speech was of little use to them in intercourse between different tribes.
Wow. Now, we'll get a little bit more information if we pull from some other sources besides the appendix as well.
Right.
So first we're going to go to Peoples of Middle-earth. That's History of Middle-earth, Volume 12. And there we read that the orcs and goblins had languages of their own, as hideous as all things that they made or used. And since some remnant of goodwill and true thought and perception is required to keep even a base language alive and useful, even for base purposes, their tongues were endlessly diversified in form, as they were deadly monotonous in purport, fluent only in the expression of abuse, of hatred, and fear. And I want to linger on that for just a moment to point out that what he's basically saying there is that the orcs are so corrupted and they're so devoid of any goodwill that they can't even take proper care of a language. You know, they just, Tolkien knew very well that languages change over time.
Right.
But, you know, he's basically what he's saying here is that with orcs, it's sort of chaotic. They're just constantly changing. You can imagine that they're probably all speaking it in their own way. There's got to be limited ability to communicate. And that's all a mark of the corruption of who they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, of course, it's hard to command an army that's like that.
Yes, it is. You charge on the left flank.
Right.
Like,
but my word for left is his word for right. You know, it's like it's just not going to work.
No, it will not.
So you got to do something to bring them together. So I'm going to go to the Lost Road for the next bit here, and that is, of course, History of Middle-earth, Volume 5. There we read that Morgoth actually created a language for the orcs that was, quote, hideous and foul and utterly unlike the languages of the Quendi. And there's a similar comment in an essay published in Vinyar Tengwar. It seems Morgoth really did try to get all the orcs speaking a common language, but it just didn't stick. They just don't really have, they just can't do it.
They just don't have what it takes, man.
Right, exactly.
Have you been doing your homework?
Conjugate those verbs, Snaga.
Snaga, that's right. Oh, man.
It's like the Roman soldier in Life of Brian.
Yes. Oh, that would be hilarious. I can just see it now, all the orcs trying to...
Romanes ait domus.
Oh, that is just brilliant. Oh, man. That's good stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to Appendix F, probably because I don't have any Vinyar Tengwar. Just because it's relevant, actually. Appendix F tells us that Sauron thought he could outdo his old boss here. I can do better. Anything you can do, I can do better.
There you go. Yep.
I can see Morgoth now. No, you can't. Yes, I can. All right.
But I'm King Excellent. Of course I can do it better.
That's right. It is said that the Black Speech was devised by Sauron in the Dark Years, and that he had desired to make it the language of all those that served him. But he failed in that purpose. From the Black Speech, however, were derived many of the words that were in the Third Age widespread among the orcs, such as gash, fire. But after the first overthrow of Sauron, this language in its ancient form was forgotten by all but the Nazgul. When Sauron arose again, it became once more the language of Barad-dûr and of the captains of Mordor. The inscription on the ring was in the ancient Black Speech, while the curse of the Mordor orc, on page 445, that's the quote we just read, was in the more debased form used by the soldiers of the Dark Tower, of whom Grishnak was the captain. Sharku, in that tongue, means old man.
That's right. And I promise we will get back to that curse in just a moment.
We will.
But we got a few more things to say about this. So Sauron creates his own version of a language to control his armies. And unlike Morgoth, who made his language utterly unlike the languages of the elves, Sauron actually did borrow some vocabulary from the elves and others to make the Black Speech.
Oh, yeah.
In The War of the Jewels, that's History of Middle-earth, Volume 11, we read that the word Uruk that occurs in the Black Speech, devised, it is said, by Sauron to serve as a lingua franca for his subjects, was probably borrowed by him from the elvish tongues of earlier times. Helga Fevskanger, he's the creator of the website Artalambion, which is a fantastic resource online for Tolkien's languages. Fevskanger points out that Uruk may be similar to Quenya Urko, Orko, or Sindarin Orch, but it is identical to the ancient elvish form Uruk.
Oh.
So maybe Sauron knew some primitive Quendian, that proto-elvish language that was spoken a long, long time ago.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
And one other cool thing about borrowed vocabulary, you could say, the word Nazg for ring. Now, we talked about that, many episodes ago.
Yeah.
Fevskanger points out that the word Nazg is very similar to the Valoran name of the Mahanaxar. Remember that from season 1? That's the Ring of Doom, where the Valar used to meet in council and pronounce their judgments. Yep, the Ring of Doom was Mahanaxar. But the Valoran form of that name, so Mahanaxar, which is the name we know, is actually a Quenya rendering of the actual Valoran name, which was something like Machan a Naskad.
And you can hear that Nask. Yeah, that Naskad at the end.
Right. The suggestion seems to be that Naskad or Nask or some part of that last bit of it means ring in Valoran.
Ooh.
And Fevskanger's thought is that was probably borrowed into the Black Speech by Sauron.
Wow.
Which is fantastic.
That is pretty amazing. Kudos to Sauron for his expert conlang skills.
Oh, if there's an award for that, and I'm sure there is, he would win it.
I'm sure there is, yeah. But apparently, as we're told in Appendix F, he failed in his purpose still, so...
Because orcs.
Because orcs, exactly. You're trying to teach orcs. This is like trying to teach first graders, like, astrophysics. You just can't do it.
You can't teach them even proper Black Speech.
No. So his language, or at least a debased form of it, was used by his captains, like Grishnak, but that's about it. Then we get this. So it was that in the Third Age, orcs used for communication between breed and breed the Westron tongue. And many indeed of the older tribes, such as those that still lingered in the north and in the Misty Mountains, had long used the Westron as their native language, though in such a fashion as to make it hardly less unlovely than Orcish.
And that adds a little bit of color to that comment that we saw in this chapter, that the orcs made the common speech almost as hideous as his own language.
Yeah, you're right. That makes sense. And it seems like Tolkien was actually cleaning it up a bit, frankly, to spare us the worst of it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Appendix F, I'm going back to that because that's what I do now. Orcs and trolls spoke as they would, without love of words or things, and their language was actually more degraded and filthy than I have shown it. I do not suppose that any will wish for a closer rendering, though models are easy to find. Much the same sort of talk can still be heard among the orc-minded, dreary and repetitive, with hatred and contempt, too long removed from good to retain even verbal vigor, save in the ears of those to whom only the squalid sounds strong. Wow.
Tell us what you really think.
He's not
Professor.
holding back, is he?
No, not at all.
Just say what you mean, man. Don't beat around the bush.
Honestly, I think that's a great point to bring in the discussion question that I had. So,
yeah,
he's talking about sort of orc speech in the modern world.
Yeah.
What do you think he's talking about exactly there? Do you think he's talking about profanity? That seems like probably an easy answer. Or is he just talking about any kind of language that's full of hate and contempt, like he says? I mean,
why not both? I mean,
why not both? Indeed.
Yeah.
But, one can say really nasty words in a way that's not hateful, right?
True,
I mean,
true.
Some people use words like that in everyday speech. They say it to their friends,
Right.
whatever. It's just the way they talk.
Yeah.
And then one can say extremely hateful things using perfectly G-rated language. So,
boy, that is true too.
is it one or the
man.
other? Or what do you think he was thinking? I mean, we're trying to get into Tolkien's head here, which is hard. But...
Yeah, that is hard to do. I mean, I know I joked around and said both, but I really actually think he is thinking both that way. He's talking about both degraded and filthy. He talks about the type of language it is. It's dreary language, it's repetitive, but it's got hatred and contempt. So he's talking about both the form of the language, dreary and repetitive, but also the thoughts behind it, hatred and contempt.
Yeah.
And we get the same thing in the next phrase, too long removed from good to retain even verbal vigor. So it doesn't even have structure. And part of that lack of structure, that vigor, comes from the heart, comes from where, what thoughts the person is trying to convey.
Yeah.
And that the only way you can convey strength here is to sound squalid. Ooh, that's a great word.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you have to be filthy to sound strong. It's kind of the idea that's being conveyed here. Like how filthy your language is a measure of worth somehow, if you can even use that word. It's a very interesting concept, and yet we all know people like that, don't we?
We do. Yeah. No,
and look, it's not just about curse words. I mean, it's about the things you say, right?
True.
And I think Tolkien was probably keenly aware of the fact that, while using the same 4-letter words over and over again is a way of kind of reducing your vocabulary,
Quite, yeah.
If you've got one certain word, you can use it as an adjective for any situation, and you never need another adjective.
Yeah, you use it as an adjective, as an adverb, as a noun, as a verb, as
right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and I'm sure Tolkien was aware of this and probably felt like that's limiting It's a way of limiting one's vocabulary. It's getting less precise
Yeah.
with one's language, and I can see how that would have been abhorrent.
Which
to
is
him.
why he can write thousands and thousands of pages and never have that word or any other similar words show up
Yeah, yeah.
once. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, really is.
Tolkien has always been an inspiration for me, and just sort of using proper words. I mean, look, I'll admit it's not like I never utter those words. I certainly do
Oh, of
sometimes.
course.
But yeah, Tolkien gives us something to aspire to. Just
Yes, he
a
does.
better way to express ourselves. And I like that.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. But I do want to go back to Orcs here, because I think that, all this kind of fits in with an idea that I think is really important to Tolkien, because as a philologist, I mean, remember, philologist literally means a lover of words. And Tolkien was that professionally, but he was also like literally a lover of words personally.
Yes, he was.
This treatment of language by the Orcs is evidence of their nature, as we've talked about. It's who they are. They can't do anything different. And as Helga Fevskanger says, I want to quote him one more time here. In Tolkien's invented world, total absence of love for language could only be a characteristic of evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful. And I think it's, we've talked so many times about how language implies culture in Middle-earth, and how
Yes.
characters can be, their nobility can be recognized by their language. We talk about Aragorn's elevated language when he crosses past the Argonath.
Right. Oh, yes.
And how he suddenly slips into this more archaic register. We're kind of seeing the opposite here. We're seeing these as corrupted creatures, and they speak a corrupted language.
Yeah, they do. You're right. And so corrupted that they can barely even communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They have to use a higher language, if you will, Westron,
Right.
in order to even communicate effectively.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Now, before we wrap up the sidebar,
Mhm.
finally, okay, folks, you've been waiting long enough for it. We did say we'd have a little bit more on that lovely phrase the Northern Orc said. Ugluk ubagronk sha pushtug saruman glo bubosh sky.
Yeah.
Just because I had to say it again.
Of course you did.
So don't worry, we can translate it and still keep our clean rating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
barely.
Just barely. In Peoples of Middle-earth, there's a quote from a previous draft of the Appendix F that Alan was just reading from, where this translates to Ugluk to the cesspool, Shah, the dung filth, the great Saruman fool, sky. And you're like, okay, what about Shah and sky? Why didn't you translate those?
Right.
They both seem to be sort of interjections of contempt, kind of like something like, bah, or
worse. Yeah. Much worse, probably.
So, yeah, that's basically what that means, according to this early draft of Appendix F. And that's kind of where Hammond and Skull landed on it, too. But there are actually two other translations of this in print that were both written by Tolkien himself.
Mm-hmm.
Quite possibly, he probably just changed his mind over time. In a later typescript that's printed in Vinyar Tengwar, it became translated as Ugluk to the dung pit with stinking Saruman filth.
Oh.
Pig guts, ga.
Oh, charming. Pig guts.
I just just put pig guts in there, because that's
pig guts, right.
That's classy.
That is.
And then there's a third translation that's printed in Parma El Delamberon 17.
No, of course it is. Yeah. All right.
And that's Ugluk to torture chamber with stinking Saruman filth.
Ooh.
Dung heap, sky.
Charming.
So
Love
you're really
that.
starting to get these picture of this orc. He's just talking. I mean, first of all, he's got this very kind of hateful, contemptuous sentence, and then just like interjections of just nasty things, pig guts or dung heap, or like he's just like spouting out random obscenities. It's
right. Whatever gross thing, disgusting thing you can come up with.
gross thing you can think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating from a linguistic
It is
perspective,
fascinating,
but
right.
it does give you a picture of who these guys are.
It really does. Well, whatever the case, it wasn't, that wonderful Ugluk, so wise and just. I wish it could lead us like Grishnak does. Yeah.
What a swell guy, that Ugluk.
Wish
No.
we had one just like him. No.
So Christopher Tolkien points out, to wrap this up finally, again, this is in Peoples of Middle-earth, he says that, based on the fact that all three translations differ significantly, so, Bugronk means everything from cesspool to torture chamber, both places to spend a weekend, it seems clear that my father was at this time devising interpretations of the words, whatever he may have intended them to mean when he first wrote them.
Oh, man. What'd you do this weekend? I spent time in the Bugronk, man. It was great. You mean the cesspool? No, the torture chamber.
No, the torture chamber, man. The other Bugronk, man. That's the one you got to go to.
Pig guts. Bah.
Sky.
Man, that is good stuff. All right.
Oh, man.
Well, now I get to have a little bit of fun with orc voices, just like you did. I'm not sure I'm any more ready than you were. I'm going to pick up exactly where you left off. And now we're going to actually get back. Sidebar over now, folks. Congratulations on enduring that long sidebar. Now we get back to the debate, if we want to call it that.
If you want to call it that.
Kill them properly, said one. No time for play on this trip. That can't be helped, said another. But why not kill them quick? Kill them now. They're a cursed nuisance and we're in a hurry. Evening's coming on and we have to get a move on. Orders, said a third voice in a deep growl. Kill all, but not the halflings. They're to be brought back alive as quickly as possible. That's my orders. What are they wanted for? Asked several voices. Why alive? Do they give good sport? No, I heard that one of them's got something. Something that's wanted for the war. Some elvish plot or other. Anyway, they'll both be questioned. Is that all you know? Why don't we search them and find out? We might find something we could use ourselves. That is a very interesting remark, sneered a voice, softer than the others, but more evil. I may have to report that. The prisoners are not to be searched or plundered. Those are my orders. And mine too, said the deep voice. Alive and is captured. No spoiling. That's my orders. Not our orders, said one of the earlier voices. We have come all the way from the mines to kill and avenge our folk. I wish to kill and then go back north. Then you can wish again, said the growling voice. I am Ugluk. I command. I return to Isengard by the shortest road. Is Saruman the master or the great eye? Said the evil voice. We should go back at once to Lugbirds. Now let's stop there.
Oh, man.
No, those guys are fun.
That's just nicely done.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It's a tough passage, and it's just a brutal passage to listen to.
I know, man.
Yeah, debate really is not the right word for this. This is
No.
They're not even really arguing at this point. They're just sort of like
They're defining their positions. Is really what they're doing.
They're kind of pounding their chests at this point.
Oh, yeah. Especially Ugluk, right?
These are my... Yeah, that's... And Ugluk is going to do a lot of this.
He does massive chest pounding. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's a lot of like, these are my orders. These are my orders. It's...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
let's do that.
Starting with this northerner who says, look, there's no time for play on this trip. Ugh.
Now that you said northerner, I hear him in a Boston accent. Yeah, park the car. Yeah, I've come from the north.
Play. No time for play on this trip. Yeah, but that's what he's talking about. He's talking about no time for killing them. No time to just
play.
Just to randomly kill them for no reason.
Right.
And then this other one says, that's a shame, but why not kill them quick?
Right.
And so I guess that's the difference. The first northerner was talking about no time for playing, no time for giving them a slow death,
to making it last long time.
Yeah, no time for savoring. Yeah, exactly.
No time for a proper, blood eagle or anything like that.
Yeah. But then the second one is like, well, then let's just kill them quick.
Yeah, let's just slice their throats. Let's just be done with it,
Yeah.
We're in a hurry. We got to do our thing and let's get going.
Right.
But then, Ugluk, I've got orders. We're going to bring them back alive. They have something wanted for the war. Well, we don't know that that's him that said that. I actually didn't voice it that way. But this whole idea that, that there's something that's wanted for the war. But that certainly is the reason why the orders are what they are, right? There's something that Saruman wants.
Right.
Yeah. But, somebody asked, is that all you know? Why don't we find out? We could use this ourselves. Orcs are always looking for the upper hand, aren't they?
They are. And can I actually, there's two things I want to talk about here that are not in my notes, but I feel like we need to talk about. This idea of some elvish plot or other.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, okay, that's factually inaccurate. Not that I expect them to know that, because the ring is not an elvish plot. It's a Sauronian plot, if that's a word.
Well, yeah. Quite.
But I wonder if they just call anything they don't understand or they don't trust elvish.
Elvish,
like is elvish like just a synonym for some weird magic thing, or is elvish a synonym for anything they hate? Like calling something elvish is automatically an insult to them.
Oh man,
I don't know.
I think you may be right. I think you really are onto something. Wow.
I don't know if there's an answer. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I
don't know.
It's clear that there's something like they're sort of just making it the other.
Yeah. Just call it elvish and suddenly it's worthless. It's,
right.
The other thing I wanted to point out is just because this is such a memorable line in the movie, the bit about do they give good sport?
Do they give good sport? Yeah, that guy.
My wife is always so creeped out by that line.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't. This is one of those lines in the book that I can't help but think about that orc who says it in the movie. And I can't remember which one it is in the movie who says it, but I don't know. It's one of those really creepy things.
Yeah. I think it's the guy that says, we ain't had nothing but maggoty bread for 3 days. That guy.
It might
I think
be,
it's the same guy. I may be wrong.
It might be. But I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those really creepy things. Like, you don't want to hear orcs talking about playing with you or you giving good sport, because that's going to mean you're going to end up like bloody or something horrible.
Absolutely terrible.
Anyway, I apologize for the digression. There's a couple things here that
it's what we do, man.
Yeah, I know. At least we're digressing about the text. So
True.
For once. But anyway, back to the text.
For once,
Then we get Grishnach, who is the Mordorian orc, and he's not yet named.
Oh boy.
And he's like, look, my orders are the prisoners are not to be searched.
Yeah, don't you dare do it. And the threat, I might have to report that.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay,
that's treasonous. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. You don't want the Nazgul coming after you, flaying you alive in the tower,
Right.
Yeah.
Leaving you naked to the lidless eye. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants to be naked to the lidless eye.
No.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. I like, though, that Ugluk concurs with those orders. I mean, clearly we now are seeing 3 separate groups of orders. You got the one guy that orders kill everybody but not the halflings. Then you got the other guy, no, we want to kill him now or kill him for sport either way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the one that, hey, they're not to be searched or plundered.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And then we get the Northerners coming in with their position, which, of course, they're going to disagree. They came down from the mines to kill.
Yeah, revenge, right.
We want to kill. I wish to kill. We don't follow your wizard. We don't follow your eye. No. We are here to kill.
That's right.
Period.
We have one purpose and one purpose only. It is revenge. Yeah.
Yep.
But Ugluk's like, yeah, you keep on wishing, man. I mean, I'm glad you're welcome to be here, but you're not killing them. I'm in command. I'm the one who's going to lead. And I'm going to Isengard, and y'all are coming with me.
Right. And then Grishnach comes back.
Yeah.
Hey, look, who's really the boss here? We should go back to Barad-dûr.
Right.
And, okay, so he doesn't say Barad-dûr. He says Lugburs, which is just black speech for Barad-dûr. It's actually pretty much just a translation. Lug means fortress or prison. Burs means dark. And we actually saw that in the ring inscription. Burzum.
Oh, that's right.
So remember, the darkness was Burzum.
Yeah. So, and of course he says, look, we can make it. We can get there. There's a winged Nazgul waiting for us on the opposite shore. But then the Northerner points out an obvious problem. If you guys head over to Mordor, you're going to be leaving us on our own here in horse country, as he says. We're going to have to be on foot while you go off and get all the glory. Yeah. So not going to do it. We're not up for that. But then we get a fight instigated, and it's so well done. It is masterfully done. And Sean, I'm going to have you pick up there.
All right.
Aye, we must stick together,
growled Ugluk.
I don't trust you, little swine. You've no guts outside your own sties. But for us, you'd all have run away. We are the fighting Urak-Hai. We slew the great warrior. We took the prisoners. We are the servants of Saruman the Wise, the White Hand, the hand that gives us man's flesh to eat. We came out of Isengard and led you here, and we shall lead you back by the way we choose. I am Ugluk. I have spoken.
You have spoken.
Sorry, all I can think of is the guy from The Mandalorian. I have spoken.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, man.
Oh, no. All right.
I got to get back to watching.
And now I'm crying. And now I'm crying because I'm so sad about the end of season 1.
Season 2's on now, you know.
I know, but I haven't started it yet.
I haven't either.
For me.
I haven't either.
Yep.
Folks, don't spoil it. Okay. You have spoken more than enough, Ugluk, sneered the evil voice. I wonder how they would like it in Lugburs. They might think that Ugluk's shoulders needed relieving of a swollen head. They might ask where his strange ideas came from. Did they come from Saruman, perhaps? Who does he think he is, setting up on his own with his filthy white badges? They might agree with me, with Grishnak, their trusted messenger. And I, Grishnak, say this. Saruman is a fool, and a dirty, treacherous fool. But the great eye is on him. Swine, is it? How do you folk like being called swine by the muckrakers of a dirty little wizard? It's orc flesh they eat, I'll warrant.
Okay, so let's go back through this passage. First we get Ugluk concurring, but adding that he doesn't trust the little swine from the north. I love this. I mean, it's just, I don't trust you, little swine. He even talks about the sties that they stay in. And
yeah.
He's really, really digging on them.
Oh, yeah.
It's great stuff. Yeah.
There's really just intense tribalism here.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And then Ugluk boasts of slaying Boromir. We slew the great warrior. We captured the prisoners.
And then, of course, he says who we serve. We are the servants, as if we didn't know this, but now we know it, are the servants of Saruman the Wise, the hand that gives us man's flesh to eat. Yeah, that's why we serve him, because he gives us man. Remember that Twilight Zone episode, the cookbook?
To serve man.
Man. Yeah. Love that.
And I remember the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror that played on it.
Yes.
How to cook. Was it like how to cook people, and then it's how to cook for people, how to cook 40 people, how to cook for 40 people.
Oh man, that's so brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he claims to lead again. We serve Saruman. We came out of Isengard. We brought you here, and now we're going to take you back. I'm the boss. I've said what I've got to say. I'm done. I love that.
Yeah.
But of course, Grishnak has his own opinion.
Has some things to say about that. Yeah.
He's a messenger of Barad-dûr. Let's not forget Sauron is a little more powerful than Saruman.
Yeah.
And, his whole point here is like, who does Saruman think he is?
Right.
Yeah. If he's a vassal, then he needs to act like a vassal, not like a competitor.
Right.
He doesn't have this power.
And by the way, he's being watched.
Oh, yeah. You think the Nazgul are just like sitting around? No.
Yeah. The great eye is on him.
Yeah, the great eye, and there's no doubt the Nazgul are taking a look.
Yeah.
But then the instigation. This is brilliant.
And then he tries to get the Northerners on his side, right? He's
right.
Like, hey, what about you guys? You guys like being called swine by this guy, this little wizard, this wizard's
muckrakers of the wizard's people.
Yeah, this muckraker of a wizard. You like being called swine? And then this amazing line, it's orc flesh they eat, I'll warrant.
Oh, man.
And I don't know. This means so much. I feel like I want to dive into this a little bit.
Yeah.
First of all, it's like you're probably being lied to. It's not man flesh. It's orc flesh.
Right.
And then the implication there is either you tell me what you think. Is it you guys are cannibals?
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, man, you're eating orc flesh. Even we don't eat orc flesh, which I doubt. I don't think that's a line that
I don't think
Mordor
they care.
Right.
No.
I think what it really is like you guys are no better than us. We all eat orc flesh.
Right.
And you just think you're eating man flesh because you're being lied to.
Right.
I know. I love it. It's just, it's a weird.
You're right. What layer does that insult work on?
Right.
It's orc flesh they eat, I'll warrant. Okay. So.
I mean, it's like, yeah. So what? We all eat orc flesh, right?
I'm sure they do.
I think it's just you guys are no better than us.
Throw a little salt on it, put it in your bag. It keeps for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. You may think you're getting Wagyu, what you're buying at the grocery
but you're
store.
Just getting choice, man. Yeah,
right, exactly. So I think it's the same thing. Like, yeah, you may think it's man flesh, but it's orc flesh. You can tell by the hairs on it.
Oh man, that's vile.
It's a cool thing. It's a really interesting little window into the orc psyche.
Boy, it is, isn't it? I don't know. I think. I mean, I agree that that's not a line that they particularly care about crossing. But I think it's more like you're idiots because you're being suckered.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah.
And maybe by alleging that they are eating orc flesh, he's telling the Northerners these guys aren't all they're cracked up to be.
Right. Yeah, they're no better than us. They're just the same as us. Yeah. I think that's
And
it.
they're idiots, right?
And they're
Yeah.
idiots for thinking that they're eating man flesh when they're
Man
not.
flesh, right? Exactly. And of course, I think their response would be, I mean, if I'm Ugluk, you're an idiot. We're man orcs, so it's both.
Right.
We're eating man flesh. It's just
That's true.
got a little
If
orc
we're
flesh
eating
with
each
it.
other, we're eating man flesh and orc flesh.
Right?
You know?
Yeah, it's a lovely hybrid. It's
Guys, let's not split hairs. Come on.
It's like a turducken.
Right, exactly. It's a menorcan.
Happy Thanksgiving! Here's your Menorcan.
Oh man! Wait, now we got to get hobbits in there or elves in there because right, a turducken is a turkey, a duck, and a chicken.
duck
right?
and
It's
a chicken.
and a right.
So it's,
right. So we've got to have a man, an orc, and a hobbit in
And
there.
a hobbit, so it's a menorkit.
A menorkit,
Yeah.
or but in order. So
Oh, so you think the orc would be on the outside?
the orc would be on the outside, man would be on the inside, and the hobbit would be further in. So the hobbit is the last thing.
This is really disgusting, by the way.
It is absolutely vile. It's a good thing I'm not eating. You know what I often have? I'm not going to even be able to eat this as a snack for the next 3 recordings. I often have beef jerky. You have just totally thrown me off of beef jerky.
I probably will not eat red meat for a while after this episode.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, before we witness more civilized orc debate, we wanted to remind you to visit our website, theprancingponypodcast.com, as we've made some improvements recently, mostly removing, orc flesh.
And all recipes involving orc flesh. Those are all
Right.
gone, folks. Sorry, you're going to have to buy the book for that. But we do still have all the good stuff there. We've got the show notes, the outtakes, Prancing Pony Ponderings, as well as our online storefront where you can get PPP shirts, mugs, stickers, and more.
And one of the best resources we have there is our library page. After all, we love the books here at the Prancing Pony Podcast, and we want to make sure you can get your hands on any of the books we mention here.
Yeah, we may talk a lot about all kinds of different Tolkien-related stuff on the podcast, but at heart, Alan and I are fans of Tolkien's books and books about Tolkien. That's why we have the library page with links to every book we've ever mentioned on the show.
Mm-hmm. Now, we do make a few pennies from the purchases you make from those links, so thank you for your support.
And what was true for the Rohirrim is also true for the Orcs. If you're going to run for days across the plains of Rohan carrying hobbits, you're going to need really good socks.
Yes.
So
you
we're
will.
going to remind you where to get some Bombas.
Maybe you haven't always thought of socks as the perfect gift or the perfect way to give back, but actually, Bombas socks were made to give, literally.
Whenever you give a pair of incredibly comfy Bombas socks, you're not only giving someone a gift they'll really love, but you're also donating a pair to someone in need. Because for every pair of socks that Bombas sells, they donate a pair to someone who's experiencing homelessness.
Now, Bombas socks are specially engineered to be the most comfortable pair of socks that you or anyone on your gift list have ever worn. They've spent years really perfecting every detail, getting rid of that annoying toe seam, making sure they don't slip, a whole lot more, frankly.
Wearing them makes me feel like I could run across the plains of Rohan with the 300s after these lovely orcs that we've been spending time with.
Yes.
And maybe Gimli wouldn't be so tired if he had a pair of Bombas socks in those boots, you know?
I'm sure he wouldn't. Now, here's the thing. Bombas socks are backed for life. If you are ever less than satisfied, just reach out to their customer happiness team for an exchange or refund.
From comfort to kindness and everything in between, Bombas aren't just givable, they were made to give. Go to bombas.com/PPP today and get 20% off your first order.
That's bombas.com/PPP. Bombas.com/PPP.
Okay, well, it's December, which means we can officially start watching Christmas movies.
Yay.
But what if you go to Netflix and find your favorite holiday movie isn't available? Well, here's a solution. You can use ExpressVPN to watch any Netflix library in the world.
That's right. This weekend, I used ExpressVPN to stream one of my favorite holiday classics, Die Hard, which is only on
yes.
Netflix in South Korea, of all places. Now, I could have picked Elf in the Australian library, but I didn't. The fact is, it was really easy. I just opened the app, hit a button to change my location, refresh Netflix, and there it was.
ExpressVPN lets you control where you want sites to think you're located.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose from nearly 100 countries, so just imagine all the Netflix libraries you can explore.
And it's not just Netflix. ExpressVPN works with any of the streaming services. Disney Plus, Hulu, BBC iPlayer, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of VPNs out there, but the reason I use ExpressVPN to watch movies and TV is because it's fast. And that
Yeah.
means I can stream HD or even 4K.
That's right. And ExpressVPN works with all your devices too. Phones, tablets, smart TVs even. So you can watch whatever you want, wherever you want.
If you visit our special link right now, expressvpn.com/PPP, you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free.
So support the show, watch what you want, and get your holiday fix at expressvpn.com/PPP. Well, let's go ahead and get back into the chapter. We're in the middle of a charming discussion, a friendly civil debate. We are here with the candidates Grishnak and Ugluk, each trying to sway voters.
Each will have 60 seconds to speak, and mics will be muted when the other is talking.
That'd be great. That's right. That would be so helpful. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pick up literally where you left off. Many loud yells in orc speech answered him, and the ringing clash of weapons being drawn. Cautiously, Pippin rolled over, hoping to see what would happen. His guards had gone to join in the fray. In the twilight, he saw a large black orc, probably Ugluk, standing facing Grishnak, a short, crook-legged creature, very broad, and with long arms that hung almost to the ground. Round them were many smaller goblins. Pippin supposed that these were the ones from the north. They had drawn their knives and swords, but hesitated to attack Ugluk. Ugluk shouted, and a number of other orcs of nearly his own size ran up. Then, suddenly, without warning, Ugluk sprang forwards, and with 2 swift strokes swept the heads off 2 of his opponents. Grishnak stepped aside and vanished into the shadows. The others gave way, and one stepped backwards and fell over Merry's prostrate form with a curse. Yet that probably saved his life, for Ugluk's followers leaped over him and cut down another with their broad-bladed swords. It was the yellow-fanged guard. His body fell right on top of Pippin, still clutching its long, saw-edged knife.
Put up your weapons,
shouted Ugluk.
and let's have no more nonsense. We go straight west from here and down the stair. From there, straight to the downs, then along the river to the forest, and we march day and night. That clear?
Now, thought Pippin, if only it takes that ugly fellow a little while to get his troop under control, I've got a chance. A gleam of hope had come to him. The edge of the black knife had snicked his arm and then slid down to his wrist. He felt the blood trickling onto his hand, but he also felt the cold touch of steel against his skin.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is escalating quickly.
Yeah, it is.
Grishnak is obviously, he's just playing them against each other, right? He's just pitting the Northerners against Ugluk, and it works,
Oh, yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's a manipulator, yeah.
And again, look, orcs are tribal, and he is
he's
using that against them. And so Pippin sort of rolls over to see what happens, and he watches this confrontation as it happens. Mm-hmm. And then we get a description of some of these orcs, don't we?
Yes, we do. So we get the description of Ugluk as a large black orc, and the description of Grishnak as short, crook-legged, very broad, with arms that hang to the ground.
Mm-hmm. And they're surrounded by many smaller goblins, which would be the Northerners, the Moria orcs.
Right. Yeah.
And then Ugluk calls some of his buds over, who are also rather large. And then he just springs into action. He lops a couple of heads off, so that's 2 down.
Yep. And Grishnak immediately bails, right? His job is done. He's sown the discord he needs. Yeah. And now that there's swords, I'm done. I'm going to just fade away, man.
Yep.
And then we get the lucky kill, right? Ugluk's followers kill Pippin's guard, so that's 3 now.
That works for Pippin.
And he falls still holding his knife, right?
Maybe a little spabimmy there, you think?
Oh, I think so. Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah. We'll see a little bit more of that in a bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Ugluk reasserts his command. He gives some directions to the orcs. And Pippin's thinking, hey, look, this might be my chance. I hope I might have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bit of confusion here, and now I'm going to make my move.
Is this the land of confusion?
It is. Don't you know? It is the land of confusion.
Well, we have to get a Genesis reference in every now and then.
It's been a while. It's been a few episodes since we've gotten a Genesis reference in.
It has indeed. So the orcs prepare to march, but before they do get out, 2 more Northerners are killed, because why not, right? I love that. Some of the
Sorry,
Northerners.
I was just thinking when we were talking about orcs eating each other in Genesis references, why didn't we drop suppers ready at that
Oh
point?
my goodness, that is just wrong. That is just wrong.
Well, too late.
Wow. Yeah, too late. And now it's really too late. Oh,
It is.
goodness.
Oh, well.
So because the Northerners are unwilling, the Urak-Hai actually kill a couple more. So that's 5. And because it's 5, we now go back to the previous chapter and we read this. 5 dead orcs lay there. They had been hewn with many cruel strokes, and 2 had been beheaded. The ground was wet with their dark blood. And Aragorn would later say, these are northern orcs from far away. Among the slain are none of the great orcs with the strange badges. There was a quarrel, I guess. It is no uncommon thing with these foul folk. Maybe there was some dispute about the road.
Do you smell that? It's not man flesh.
No,
It's not
no.
orc flesh.
No,
It's interlacing.
that's right. Yes. It smells like cookies, like chocolate
It
chip
does.
cookies.
It's,
That's what I think.
It's,
it
it's a
actually
delightful
smells
smell. It's probably the
Yeah.
only delightful smell in this chapter.
like. Oh, almost certainly.
So Pippin is unwatched briefly, and he
Mhm.
does a very tookish and very unfoolish thing.
Yeah.
He's got his
yeah,
arms
yeah.
in front of him, tied at the wrist, which is just bad security, isn't it? Right?
I know.
mean,
You don't tie his arms in front of him. What is that about?
Even I know. I've seen enough cop movies to know you always tie their, handcuff them at the back, right?
Right. Absolutely. Always put their hands behind their back.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
But no, they're orcs. They don't know any better. So
No.
hands in front, and he's actually able to cut the rope on the blade of the knife, and then
Yeah.
good job, Pippin, knots
Yeah.
it again to make it look like it hasn't been cut.
Exactly. Like a little slip knot or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very clever. Very clever guy. Yeah. Well, I'm going to have you pick up right there after Pippin has cut the rope. Go ahead.
Okay,
Pick up those prisoners.
shouted Ugluk.
Don't play any tricks with them. If they are not alive when we get back, someone else will die too.
An orc seized Pippin like a sack, put its head between his tied hands, grabbed his arms and dragged them down until Pippin's face was crushed against its neck. Then it jolted off with him. Another treated Merry in the same way. The orc's claw-like hand gripped Pippin's arms like iron. The nails bit into him. He shut his eyes and slipped back into evil dreams. Suddenly he was thrown onto the stony floor again. It was early night, but the slim moon was already falling westward. They were on the edge of a cliff that seemed to look out over a sea of pale mist. There was a sound of water falling nearby.
The scouts have come back at last,
Said an orc close at hand.
Well, what did you discover?
Growled the voice of Ugluk.
Only a single horseman, and he made off westwards. All's clear now. Now, I dare say. But how long? You fools, you should have shot him. He'll raise the alarm. The cursed horse breeders will hear of us by morning. Now we'll have to leg it double quick.
Yep.
Yeah, you will.
Oh, boy. Yeah, you will. And you probably should start now because you might make it to the forest. No, not quite. All right. So Ugluk orders the prisoners to be picked up. Now, I'm looking at the way they describe how they're being carried. An orc seized Pippin like a sack. Well, first of all, I can carry a sack in any number of ways, so that doesn't say much. Put its head between his tied hands. So the orc put its head between Pippin's tied hands, grabbed his arms and dragged them down until Pippin's face was crushed against its neck. Front or back? I mean, is this like a backpack or is this like one of those baby carriers? I mean,
I don't imagine a baby
I'm seeing him
carrier
on the front. That's kind of what I'm seeing, though. He put his head between his tied hands, right? He pulls it down, and he's looking like straight at Pippin's face as he slides down. And
With
then
that nurturing look that all mothers give their babies, or fathers, because I wore one of those once upon a time.
crushes his face against the neck.
No, I'm imagining it like
No.
it was in the movies, on the
I
back,
think so.
arms around the front.
Yeah, it's got to be.
And I have to say, they're certainly rougher with their prisoners than the Mirkwood elves, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. That's true. They make the Mirkwood elves look downright gentle.
Yeah.
It is true.
They're not like,
Go work out in the yard.
it's nothing like that. But yeah, so Pippin is not exactly comfortable falling into
No.
evil dreams, which is sounds like a horrible way to fall asleep.
What a horrible way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. And then, of course, he's woken up early at night and thrown onto the stony floor. stony floor. Sorry. A little Journey, Stone in Love. All right,
There you
sorry.
go.
Had to
Nice.
go there.
No, it was good. Nicely done.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since a Journey reference.
Oh, man, it's been since The Road
About a
Goes
year,
South, or The
right?
Ring Goes
Yeah.
South. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
The Road Goes South.
Or Journey in the Dark.
That's what it was. It was Journey in the Dark. Because,
For
of
obvious
course,
reasons.
for very obvious reasons, yeah.
Right.
So I want us to note, though, they're on the edge of a cliff. We'll see this. This is relevant. And they can hear the sound of water falling. Sean, tell us why that's relevant.
Yeah, so another little bit of interlacing here. We actually had this in a previous chapter. A little further north, they came to a fold in which a tiny stream, falling and winding, had cut a stony path down into the valley. In it some bushes grew, and there were patches of grass upon its sides. "At last," said Aragorn, "here are the tracks that we seek, up this water channel. This is the way that the orcs went after their debate."
Bingo. The stairs. I mean, Ugluk even calls them that. Yeah.
Once again, giving the orcs a little too much credit for their
Debate. Yeah.
for their discourse. Yeah.
Exactly. Discourse. So then, Pippin, even though he's now on the stony floor and he's looking out over the sea of pale mist, he overhears the conversation, and the scouts have returned.
Yeah, and we learned that they spotted one horseman who went west, but all's clear now.
Except for the fact that the horseman went away.
Ukaluk is like, well, yeah, but
Yeah,
that means that he got away, and he's going to raise the alarm, and they're going to be on their way. So I love this phrase, leg it.
That is a good one. Leg it double quick.
Double quick, double time.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up right there.
All right.
A shadow bent over Pippin. It was Ugluk. "Sit up," said the orc.
My lads are tired of lugging you about. We've got to climb down and you must use your legs. Be helpful now. No crying out. No trying to escape. We have ways of paying for tricks that you won't like, though they won't spoil your usefulness for the master.
He cut the thongs round Pippin's legs and ankles, picked him up by his hair, and stood him on his feet.
Jeez.
Pippin fell down, and Ugluk dragged him up by his hair again. Several orcs laughed. Ugluk thrust a flask between his teeth and poured some burning liquid down his throat. He felt a hot, fierce glow flow through him. The pain in his legs and ankles vanished. He could stand.
Now for the other,
said Ugluk. Pippin saw him go to Merry, who was lying close by, and kick him. Merry groaned. Seizing him roughly, Ugluk pulled him into a sitting position and tore the bandage off his head. Then he smeared the wound with some dark stuff out of a small wooden box. Merry cried out and struggled wildly. The orcs clapped and hooted.
"Can't take his medicine,"
they jeered.
"Doesn't know what's good for him. Aye, we shall have some fun later."
But at the moment, Ugluk was not engaged in sport. He needed speed and had to humor unwilling followers. He was healing Merry in orc fashion, and his treatment worked swiftly. When he had forced a drink from his flask down the hobbit's throat, cut his leg bonds, and dragged him to his feet, Merry stood up, looking pale, but grim and defiant, and very much alive. The gash in his forehead gave him no more trouble, but he bore a brown scar to the end of his days. "Hello, Pippin," he said. "So you've come on this little expedition too? Where do we get bed and breakfast?"
Now then, said Ugluk, none of that. Hold your tongues. No talk to one another. Any trouble will be reported at the other end, and he'll know how to pay you. You'll get bed and breakfast all right, more than you can stomach.
Nah, that is really
Yeah,
creepy.
It is.
What terrible thing is he going to be served for breakfast?
I know.
Ah.
Don't even want to think about it.
Ugh.
Yeah, so going back to the beginning of that, Ugluk wakes
Yeah.
Pippin up after falling asleep on his back. And he's like, look, we're tired of carrying you lot around. You're going to have to use your legs as we climb down.
Right.
My first response, if I'm Pippin, okay, you're tired of carrying me around? Well, you can leave me here. It's fine.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah, I don't mind.
I'll catch up.
Sure. You're going which direction again? Where are you going
Yeah.
again? Because I'll head that way, right? Just after a couple minutes.
Just text me the address. I'll Google Maps it, and I'll
Yeah.
meet you guys there. It's fine.
I'll call a Lyft because this Uber's
Right.
been terrible.
Yeah, exactly. 1 star.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, seriously, like we're not carrying you anymore. You're going to have to use your own legs, and that's
Yeah.
practical enough.
Of
But
course.
look, don't cry out. Don't try to escape. All these sorts of threats.
Yeah, we'll make it pretty miserable on you. And so he cuts the bonds so that he can free him. And then he stands him on his feet by his hair twice. I mean, ow, 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 ow.
That's rough, man.
That
is
hurts
rough.
just thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like kind of treating him like an animal,
Oh, he really is.
and not like a person who would treat an animal like
Well, no.
someone who mistreats an animal, grabbing it by its hair, it's just
cruel.
it's horrible.
Yeah. So do you have any idea what this orc drink might be? I mean, clearly there's some real world parallels there, but what is it?
I mean, I don't have any proof for this in the text or anywhere else, but I mean, just from the description, I think it's a whiskey. Like it's probably, and I don't mean a good whiskey. I mean probably like a really harsh, unaged whiskey, probably like a moonshine or something like that.
Right.
Just this idea about this hot, fierce glow, and the pain vanishing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That sounds like the effect of some sort of spirit, and I just imagine it's something really crudely made, like moonshine whiskey, which is just like, distilled in somebody's backyard, and it's not barrel aged, so it's got all these really harsh chemicals and stuff in it. And that's interesting to me because if it is a whiskey or a distilled spirit of some kind, I think that might mean that the orcs, as far as I know, are probably the only race in Middle-earth that actually drinks distilled spirits.
Oh.
Because we read that Miravor we didn't read this. We thought that Miravor was a mead.
Right.
So mead's more like a wine. It's fermented, but it's not
Oh,
distilled.
you're right. Yeah.
I can't think of any other race in Middle-earth that
It uses distilled spirits.
that mentions like whiskey or gin or anything like that.
Huh.
Now,
Okay.
the hobbits, of course, have the river Brandywine, and brandy is distilled.
Right.
But Brandywine isn't actually what they call it. Brandywine is actually just Tolkien's rendering of the Westron word into English.
right.
The actual Westron name of the river was Braldahim, which
Mhm.
means heady ale. And ale is a beverage we do see hobbits actually drink, and that's fermented but
course.
not distilled. So,
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah, so the Orcs might be the only race that distills, which might make sense because it does kind of seem like more of like a later medieval kind of moving into like, more advanced societies. I don't,
Okay.
it's not like it first came up with industrialization, but it is sort of a later invention, I believe.
Sure. Interesting.
And I want to clarify, like, I mean, I think it was like hundreds of years before the Industrial Revolution. I think whiskey's been around since maybe like the 1300s, 1400s, something like that.
But of course, wine and other fermented drinks have been around a
had
lot
been around
longer.
since ancient times. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Ancient times. Yeah, that's true. Interesting. So I'm picturing the orcs transporting moonshine. So I'm picturing Ugluk driving the General Lee around, just some
With
good
a bunch
old
of mason
boys.
jars filled with clear liquid.
Never meaning no harm.
Don't put a match too close to Ugluk's cart there.
Exactly. Yeah. But I can't do the horn. General Lee's horn.
Wait, no, what is it?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So it's interesting though. It works as an analgesic somehow. That's the thing. I don't know enough about alcohol to know. So tell me a little bit. Does that give you any sort of connection as to what it might be?
Yeah, whiskey can kind of numb you. I mean, whiskey's actually been
That's
used.
true. Well, I mean, didn't they used to use that sort of as an analgesic, like with surgeries and dental work and stuff, and before they actually had said analgesics?
I think like an analgesic and an antiseptic,
yeah, definitely as an antiseptic.
still used as cough medicine by
Yeah,
my grandparents.
Parents the world over. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a whiskey or some sort of spirit.
Okay, that makes sense.
It is admittedly unclear. I mean, later on, to confuse things more, it's called an orc liquor,
Yeah.
and it's also called an orc draft. Now, liquor makes it sound like it's something distilled because, that's when we say liquor, we generally mean distilled spirits. But liquor could originally mean any liquid. I think it first appeared in English around 1200, but it narrowed in sense to fermented, alcoholic beverages,
Right.
which included wine, so not exclusively distilled,
Mm-hmm.
around 1300.
Okay.
But then like draft kind of sounds like beer.
Right.
But we know draft can mean other drinks in Tolkien. Like we get the Ent draft, which is
That's
some sort
true.
of magical water. So it is unclear, but just from the description, I think it's some kind of spirit, probably moonshine.
It's just what's on draft rather than what's in the bottles.
Yeah, I mean, it just means
Yeah, I know.
it just means anything that's like drawn. I mean, that's
Right.
what draft means. It means something
Right,
that's drawn, and
exactly.
so I think the idea is something you get from a keg as opposed to in a bottle.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think it's some kind of whiskey or spirit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, Interestingly, of course, Ugluk does the same to Merry, and now we get more orc medicine. He tears off this bandage that's on Merry's forehead, and he treats the wound. This is not Neosporin.
No,
This is not Bactine. He's healing Merry in orc fashion, and the treatment works swiftly. He's giving him a little Urak-Hai healing.
Gosh, no. No, don't want to go there. No, I do want to talk about this stuff, though. This dark stuff that he uses. I'm trying to move past it. I'm really trying to move past it.
Really should. Yeah, please do.
So I wondered what this dark stuff was that he's smearing on Merry. And so I actually reached out to our good friend Chad in Texas, whose wife, Claire in Texas, has a doctorate in pharmaceuticals.
Oh, okay.
So Claire told us that this is most likely a kind of black salve. Now, black salves were common in the Victorian period and even in the early 1900s for everything from skin lesions to cancer.
Wow.
But the problem with them was that they could actually cause extreme scarring and even necrosis. So,
oh my goodness.
They're not used anymore. There's all kinds of warnings online.
Good news is your cancer's gone. Bad news is your arm's gone.
Bad news, right. Bad news is you've got a hole in your skin.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty terrifying pictures online of what black salve can do to you. So they're no longer used for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I do notice, okay, the gash didn't bother Merry again, but he always had a scar. So, okay, he didn't have his face burned off by the stuff. So I guess it probably wasn't a strong black salve, but Claire actually relayed to us that before modern medicine, people made salves out of all kinds of things like pine tar and coal tar and all kinds of questionable ingredients of varying effectiveness and safety. So something like that. Again, it was not Bactine. It was not Neosporin. This was some kind of weird herbal remedy that probably was directly responsible for burning and scarring Merry's skin.
Oh, goodness, that is just awful. I mean, it does the job. It's super effective. It never bothered him again.
It heals, but I mean, yeah, it's not pretty. It's not pleasant.
When I get that feeling, I want Urak-Hai healing. Oh, no. I promise I won't do that again for the next 5 minutes. All right. Merry is indomitable here, right? I love this. He shows up.
Oh, yeah.
He's awake. Oh, you joined our little expedition. I wonder when we're going to get bed and breakfast. I love this about Merry. I really do. And I want to talk a little bit about that. This is sort of his role, right? I mean, he's the elder of the two. He's sort of the one who encourages and cheers Pippin along. I feel like this is something that, I mean, here he is just woken up. He's in a terrible situation and in a great deal of pain, but he's standing strong for Pippin, I think.
Yeah, I think so. He's keeping his hobbitry in heart. Remember that phrase we've talked about before. Hobbits have this uncanny ability to just kind of keep up good spirits.
Yeah, that's true.
Even in the worst of circumstances. And we see that from Merry here. He's
doughty at bay, as I remember from the prologue. Love that. Yeah.
He's still joking. He's still being hobbity. He's not letting this defeat him, and it's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it really, really is. I agree.
And although we don't get the good old Merry here, we might as well, because this is a good old Merry moment. Just keeping his chin up.
Yep.
But Ugluk doesn't care for it.
No, Ugluk does not. No, he does not.
Ugluk is not amused, and he says, "No talking, you two."
No.
I'll be telling Saruman about it, and he'll know how to pay you.
Oh, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll get more bed and breakfast than you can stomach. Oh, what? I can stomach a whole lot of bed, so I'm having a feeling it's the breakfast that's the problem.
Yeah. And I don't think this is like try our wonderful complimentary buffet. I think this is This is something disgusting and horrific that's going to happen.
Some sort of like, I'll serve you the flesh of the other one of you, like that's the kind of terrible thing Saruman and Uruks would do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, creepy.
I mean, I've eaten worse breakfast buffets in hotels, to be fair.
Yeah, that is true.
I've probably eaten worse things than Hobbit meat at some of them.
2-day-old bagels and fruit that has no flavor anymore. And
this has been an oddly cannibalism-heavy episode, hasn't it?
Any mention of it at all makes it automatically heavy. And considering we've never really talked about it before on the show, yes.
But I mean, it's the Urak-Hai, so if we're gonna, if we're gonna talk about this stuff, now is going to be the time.
It's going to be the Urak-Hai. You're absolutely right.
It's the Cannibalism and Whiskey Show.
It's the Cannibalism and Whiskey Show. Oh, man.
Nicely done.
All right. Well, the reviews for Saruman's Bed and Breakfast on TripAdvisor are no better than the ones for the Uruk-Hai Uber, frankly. So
No.
fortunately, you can skip both and just join the talk that continues all night long at the Prancing Pony instead.
Indeed, our amazing listener community keeps the conversation going in all our social media spaces. At our common room on Facebook, you'll find comments, questions, corrections, and more on every episode, as well as updates from us throughout the week. Just look for the Prancing Pony Podcast on Facebook.
Now, we also have some really good discussions going on over on Reddit. You can find us there at r/PrancingPonyPod.
And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, both with the handle @PrancingPonyPod. And if you're enjoying the show, please share us, and please consider giving us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Now, if you want exclusive content like postscripts, full bonus episodes, live Discord events with Sean and me, and our full catalog of episodes without digital ads, then check out patreon.com/prancingponypod, where you can support the show by joining the Fellowship of the Podcast. Now, let's see what messages Barliman has brought us. Sean, what do we have?
All right. First up, Patrick P. in Kirkham, UK asks, in your excellent first part of breaking down the departure of Boromir, you speculated as to why the experiences of Aragorn and Frodo on the High Seat were so different. Is it possibly due to their states of mind at the point they take the High Seat? Frodo was frightened and vulnerable, probably more open to suggestion or manipulation of the mind. Aragorn was hesitant and uncertain, and took the seat almost at a whim, with his main concerns and thoughts on the missing members of the Fellowship.
Huh. Well, recall that just recently Sauron was searching for somebody here, and Gandalf was fighting to hold him off. It seems to me quite possible that maybe with all this power focused in on the area, maybe just sort of clouded up the vision, almost like stirring up the sediment at the bottom of the lake. I mean,
that's an interesting analogy, but yeah,
possibly,
that makes sense.
you know?
Yeah.
But I think that Patrick nails it with the last line of his question. Aragorn's primary concern here is the rest of the company, and he is distracted. Frodo's concern was himself, and what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So there's a difference there in terms of that. But, you know, it's honestly a good thing that Aragorn was distracted, because he needs to get back down the hill as quickly as he can when he hears that horn. In fact, quicker would have been better.
Yeah, it would have been better for Boromir, to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, and I think you're right, and I think Patrick is right at the end. I mean, we did speculate that there was some supernatural effect to the High Seat, didn't we? And,
right.
And between that and between the fact that obviously Frodo was sort of being pulled between these two powers, Sauron and Gandalf.
Right.
And I guess the supernatural effect of the seat itself, I think Frodo was just sort of more open to those effects, and those effects were focused on him, especially Sauron and Gandalf.
Yeah.
Whereas Aragorn, I like the idea of sort of
stirring up the sediment at the bottom of the lake, right? I mean, all that power has sort of muddied the waters, and now it's harder for him to see anywhere.
Yeah. I like that analogy a lot. I think that it makes sense that when Frodo gets there, these powers are really focused on him. By the time Aragorn gets there, the waters are muddied, so to speak. And that combined with the fact that he was just distracted. He wasn't focused enough to really mind meld with the power of the place. And so he didn't see anything. And as you said, I think it's a good thing. I'd argue a bit of spabimmy that he didn't.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
Well, do we have time for one more?
You know, it's going to be tight, but I think we do. Matthew E. in Ottawa, Canada, sent in a question about the distinction, or lack thereof, between Merry and Pippin. Now, it was a rather lengthy question, so we've picked what we could and paraphrased, so apologies to Matthew if we didn't paraphrase quite accurately. At the start of Book 1, there's a definite difference between the two. Merry is the detail guy, the guy you can trust to go on ahead and take care of things. Pippin is just young and foolish. This is easy to see. There are some early differences between the two, and he gives some examples like Merry being independent enough to take a walk around Bree, Pippin making silly mistakes like dropping the pebble down the well or looking at the Palantir.
Sure, yeah.
And then he goes on to say that against this, we can set things like the parallel storylines of Merry serving Rohan, Pippin serving Gondor, and the Fangorn chapters, the Scouring of the Shire, and the final chapters do portray the two of them as equal in status, he says. He concludes by saying that what I think happened is that Tolkien simply didn't succeed in differentiating the two of them as much as he intended. You can see the differences between the two, but you might not if you don't look for them. The trouble is, once the hobbits leave the Shire, they're out of their natural element, and Merry's expertise disappears. You can't see his positive qualities as easily. And Pippin's character is A, upper class, B, frivolous, C, kind of incompetent, at the start anyway, D, good-hearted, and E, has a silly nickname. And I think that when Pippin threatens Bill Ferny with his Trollsbane, we're supposed to marvel at how far he's come, in a way that Tolkien doesn't think we need to do for Sam or Merry or Frodo.
That is an interesting question, and it's certainly a long question. Thanks for some good food for thought, Matthew.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I think this is something it's going to be hard to really definitively answer since, I think it's something that probably is going to need some careful consideration as we see the story unfold. But
yeah, we'll
I
revisit
don't know.
it,
I think
sure.
we can answer at a high level here. What are your thoughts, Alan?
I think so. And of course, it's also going to differ by opinion because the whole his question is, did he differentiate the two of them successfully? Some people might say no, but
You're right. It's true.
as for me, I can't agree with Matthew's conclusion regarding Merry and Pippin. I mean, granted, compared to the rest of the company, they seem a lot alike to each other. I mean, they're both hobbits. They're both younger than Frodo. They're both from the Hobbit upper classes, so they're not like Sam. And they're sure not like the other characters in the company, right? I mean, they're nothing like elves, dwarves, or men.
Of course,
but
yeah.
between them, I honestly think there are a lot of differences that we see from early on all the way through to the end. I'm going to skip the differences that we see in those first few chapters because Matthew's talking about once they leave the Shire. So I'll focus on that just to address the question.
Sure.
In Bree, Pippin shows his foolishness. He starts to retell the story of Bilbo's vanishing, prompting Frodo to do something that ends up being a huge problem. At the same time, Merry is taking a walk. Now, granted, it's probably not to garner intelligence, though he gets that in the end, but it's a wiser thing than what Pippin did.
True.
At Rivendell, Merry studied, especially the maps, and that paid off greatly, whereas Pippin did not. He was, as we just observed earlier, baggage then, baggage now.
Yeah.
And Elrond did talk about wanting to send both back to the Shire as messengers, but he wasn't necessarily opposed to Merry going. He said, I think we should send them back as messengers. Oh, if we're not going to do that, then Pippin really shouldn't go. My heart is against him going. I think Elrond knew what Pippin's weaknesses were.
Yeah.
Now, Pippin's curiosity may have paid benefits at times, but it was also nearly his undoing, both in Moria when he dropped a rock down the well, and then, of course, later when he looks in the Palantir. But that same spur-of-the-moment thinking is honestly what helps Pippin in this chapter. Dropping the brooch, cutting his own bonds on the knife. He is very clearly opportunistic. He's quick-witted. He observes things and makes decisions, sometimes good or bad, but spontaneously. Whereas Merry, he strikes me as more cerebral, more of a planner, more of a thinker. And I think we see that difference really in just about everything they do, even in the way that they'll end up serving the people they serve later.
I think you're absolutely right about that. I do want to go back to book one because although, Matthew is focusing more on after they leave the Shire, as you say, I mean, he does point out that they are very distinct in book one.
Yeah.
Right down to the fact that Pippin starts on the quest at Bag End, so you kind of get to see him in sort of that more of that Hobbit element, whereas Merry meets up with him after Farmer Maggots, where things have gotten a little bit darker, a little bit scarier. You mentioned Elrond drawing that distinction between them in Rivendell, not wanting either of them to go, but really not wanting Pippin to go. And like you said, Merry was using his time in Rivendell much more wisely than Pippin was. So I do think that there are definite distinctions between them through book one. Maybe a little less so in book two. I do think they kind of fade together a little bit in book two, but I think starting with the first appearance in book three, right here, we really start to see this difference between them. And I think you hit the nail on the head with what that difference is.
Yeah.
They do kind of end up doing similar things. They kind of have similar arcs in a way, but their motivations and their personality style, sort of the way they deal with situations, is totally different. Like you said, Pippin is spontaneous in good ways and bad ways, and Merry is more of like a thinker or planner. And we will see that in the future as their paths diverge. So obviously, Pippin's spontaneity in a bad way is the reason they're separated, right? Because it's when he looks in the Palantir that Gandalf decides he has to separate them. He has to take Pippin to Minas Tirith. But consider what happens to Pippin once he gets to Minas Tirith. So when he and Gandalf meet Ingold at the gate, he opens his mouth without thinking, and he reveals that Boromir has died. Gandalf is like, whoa, you should have told the dad.
Wait a minute, right.
Yeah, don't tell everybody that. But then Pippin's response is sort of spontaneous in a good way. He says, you know what, okay, but here, I'm going to offer my service in remembrance of Boromir. And then he follows through on that when he meets Denethor. But it does kind of seem like a spur-of-the-moment thing he's decided at just that moment. Like, I made a mistake, put my foot in it, and I'm going to fix it by offering my service. Meanwhile, in the following chapter, we see Merry say to Aragorn, right before Aragorn leaves for the Paths of the Dead, Merry says he feels useless, he doesn't want to be left behind, and he's had this idea in his mind for a long time about wanting to spend some time with Theoden and tell him about the Shire. He really feels this connection to Theoden. And when he does talk to Theoden a little bit later, he repeats more or less the same thing about sort of feeling like he's in the way. He wants to help. He wishes he could do more. And so when he offers his sword to Theoden, it feels to me more like something he's been thinking about for a long time, as opposed to Pippin, who does kind of seem to make up his mind to offer his sword to Denethor in the spur of the moment. And it will be interesting as we move forward in the story to see if that really plays out, if I'm remembering it correctly. But I do think that there is a big difference in their personalities, and I think you've captured it well. And I think that these personality traits help them in their individual story arcs too. So Merry ends up having to make up his mind to ride to Minas Tirith with the Rohirrim. He has to be ready to charge with the riders at the Pelennor Fields. He has to be ready, though he doesn't know it, to do battle against the Witch King alongside Éowyn. That is all going to require the ability to make a decision and stick to it. And it's going to require determination and persistence to a plan once you've made it.
Right.
Even when it's starting to feel like a bad idea, when you're like, oh, wow, they've got orcs and elephants? Okay. Okay, let's do this, you know? Whereas Pippin is going to be facing a very different kind of challenge. He's going to be facing adversaries within Minas Tirith itself. And I think his spontaneity, his resourcefulness that we see in this chapter, that sort of opportunistic nature, I think that's going to serve him really well when he has to decide between following orders and saving Faramir.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Merry never has to, like, break orders. He's just doing... I mean, okay, he does by riding in the first place. But,
well, sure, yeah.
But then he's with Durnhelm, and he's committed to this path. Whereas Pippin has to actually make a decision between following orders and doing the right thing. And I think his spontaneity helps him there.
Yeah, I think it does, yeah.
Now, does he end up, by the end, having a longer arc from the Fool of Atuk that we saw earlier to, what is it, the Messenger of the King with the Troll's Bane at the end?
The wielder of the Troll's Bane, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he does have a longer arc. I don't know. I'm going to withhold judgment on that until we get there, which
that's fair.
Gives me an out for a few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do agree. I think there are some different personalities there, at least in my reading of it. And I'm curious to hear from others. Maybe other people feel they blend together a little bit more.
Maybe. I think maybe on the first couple of reads they probably did for me, but I think the more familiar with the text you become, the more readily you see those differences.
Maybe that's it, yeah.
Well, folks, that wraps it up for another episode of the Prancing Pony podcast. But please be sure to join us again next week when we'll just use the whip as a reminder.
Why am I really concerned that that's the line you went with for this?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Your problem.
Okay. Well, setting that aside, we do want to take a moment to thank our patrons at the Kier Dance contributions here. That's James in Virginia, Tamsin in Minnesota, Chad in Texas, Lance in New Jersey, Paul in Colorado, Jerry in Texas, Bruce in California, Mario in Utah, Seth in Texas, Ella in California, Joseph in Texas, Kathy from North Carolina, Lori from Washington, Josh in Oklahoma, Carlos in California, Brian from the UK, Cameron in Nevada, and Ned from Connecticut. Thank you all so much for your support.
So much. Seriously, we're going to have to start splitting that list into two because we can't just have one person read so many names. It's growing immensely. So grateful to all of you. Now, we also want to thank the team that helps make the show better. That includes research assistants Marilyn R. Paquila and Julia Matthews, along with our Barliman, Becca Davis, producer Jordan Rennells, social media manager Casey Hilsey, event and Patreon community coordinator Katie McKenna, and website guru Phil Dean.
This show wouldn't be what it is without our supporters and our teammates, so thank you all so much. And folks, be sure you don't miss any episodes of the Prancing Pony podcast. Subscribe to the show through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Now, one last thing as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, your recipe for orc liquor. Are there little umbrellas?
Sounds lovely.
Do you like pina coladas? I don't think that's a pina colada, do you?
Do you like Urak-Hai? Getting caught in the rain.
So send those recipes for orc liquor to barliman@theprancingponypodcast.com.
Barliman is a lot more reliable these days, but after too many orc liquors, you never know. And we do get a lot of mail, so we'll get to you as soon as we can. And your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
As always, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time,
farewell, friends.